A thriving artist is somebody who creates for the passion of it without expecting anything in return. You know, if you look back or if you study like the artists, like really well-known artists who passed away, a lot of them were not working for internet. They were not working for, to pay the rent or to be rich. They were working for the art itself, to have a masterpiece and no compensation, So I think if you're thriving, it means that you're really following your passion and you don't expect, fame, fortune, or anything, You just do it because you want to put something out there that speaks to you and it is true from your passion, And I think whatever happens after you leave that, if it becomes famous, is, it's all just a lot of noise, really, You left something of yourself behind, and that will be like forever, Because I think when you're just painting or drawing or whatever it is, even writing music, just to see how many views you get or if you're going to be rich, eventually that goes away, and then it's almost like you have to sort of fake it to make it again, But if you're doing it from passion, then you're growing from that moment on, and it won't matter to you. And not only that, as you get older, you're going to still love to do it, because you're like, this is what fulfills me, and I can still do it at age 70, 80, whatever. You can still do it,
Forking a road between thriving and starving artists is where I'm at. I really like your work. I can't eat lights. I need new heights. Just want to make a living doing the work I love. Throw the notion of a starving artist out of the window. Take the elevator down to the ground floor and jump on it some more.
Hello and welcome to Fork in the Road. Today I've got long-term virtual friend Frank Garcia, Artemorbid from Chicago. He's a musician with a couple of bands, a guitarist, Blood of a Wolf and Asphyxiator. And he's a YouTube creator, he's an illustrator, he's a photographer and a paranormal investigator, and and they all tie in, would you believe? Welcome, Frank. How are you going?
I'm doing great, and I'm really happy to be here with you. It's been a long time since I've seen you and talked to you, so I'm excited to be on your show and to do to do this interview. This is quite amazing to see it,
Yeah, it's so great to see you again. So I'm just wondering, with all of your creative fields that you're in, whereabouts did it all start for you? Were you a guitarist initially, or an art illustrator, or how did that kind of start off for you, your creative journey?
So I'll be 50 years old this year. So I started basically around the age of 13, 14, right around there. And I was doing the artwork first. It wasn't, very good in the beginning. It was just, I was only, doing very basic stuff with just pencil and marker and just trying to capture what I would see with my eyes. So I would say the art part came first, and then what I started to notice is a lot of the heavy metal artwork at that time, like artwork by Iron Maiden album covers, Metallica album cover. And so what I would do, I would try to draw what I would see, like the album covers, the logos, the, whatever was visually possible for me to do, I would, draw with it. And then that led me into like, well, I'm interested in the artwork, but what is this all about really? And then I began listening to the music. So once I started listening to the music, that segued me into playing guitar. So I got my first guitar about age 14, and around halfway through age 14, it was my mom who she noticed it's like, hey, we bought this guitar, you're not using it, and we don't have enough room to keep it. I didn't have my own room at the time. So it's just like, I'm going to sell it, and so I'm like, no. I'm like, don't sell it. I want I'm actually gonna pick it up, and so then I started to really take it seriously, and yeah, it just kind of stuck with me. And then through high school, I got better and better and better, and I got into a band, and I think that's about the point where like I was having to balance the artwork and the music, um, because it's tough to sit around and draw and then do music. But I think music ended up taking the majority of my time. Started playing more shows, doing a lot more concerts, and in all that, recording and everything else that comes with being a musician, I didn't really draw as much anymore. And I got back into drawing probably like in like mid 20s. I started drawing again, and
Yeah.
I was just inspired by other artists that I would see. By that time, now we had internet and everything, so I was like looking at other artists and seeing what they were doing. So I'm like, I got to get back to this. But there again, I started getting busy with the music again, and then so I just kind of didn't do the artwork as much anymore. And that's kind of how it's been. Um, it's not a bad thing. I just wish I had
Yeah.
more time to draw because I love drawing. And
Yeah.
but at the same time, if I'm always drawing, then I'm not doing the music. So it's always this clash
Yeah.
of one or the other.
And somewhere you found the time to start a very successful YouTube channel as well. Whereabouts did,
Oh,
did did that come into it? What made you decide to even take on more?
well, so okay, so yeah, the YouTube channel. So I began that to showcase my artwork actually. Um, Hence the name Artemorbid, which is sort of Spanish and English together. So it really translates to morbid art or morbid artwork, basically. Because in the
Yeah.
beginning, I was doing a lot because I was drawing from the heavy metal albums and stuff like that. I was really doing art that was like morbid and just any heavy metal album like Iron Maiden or Megadeth. Um, some of the more underground bands, is really creepy artwork, really morbid artwork. So that hence the name
Yeah.
Arted Morbid. And so I began by actually sharing my artwork that I was doing. I was even doing stuff where like spray painting when I was using spray paint cans, and I was really into um, doing the moon and planet landscapes with spray paint. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
ever seen that style, spray
I,
paint art.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about the spray paint. I haven't seen the spray paint of yours, but I've seen like recently on your Instagram, you reposted some of your, I think it was 2000 from 2015, some of your videos of your sketching, and it's totally in that style. I really love the detail. It's like that kind of pen and ink style, black and
Yes.
white. Have you ever used any of that for any posters or album covers or anything?
Yeah, there's a underground band in Brazil. Not the one that I posted. It was something different that I had done at the time when I was really going. Uh, I was doing quite a lot of those. I mean, it was small size. It wasn't too big. I would just
Yeah.
be like around that size, and I would do little time lapses. So yeah, there was a band in Brazil, but I can't think of their name. They used my artwork for one of their albums, and I had some friends actually take some of my artwork and get tattoos done of the artwork
Hmm.
on themselves, which is kind of odd because I don't have any tattoos. But it's something they wanted to do. So I'm like, and even my brother's got a skull that I did, and he's like, yeah, I want to put that on as a tattoo. I'm like, are you sure? Because that's what he's like. No, I'm sure. So he's got a skull that I did. He's got it on his arm.
Yeah, right.
So that's pretty cool. But
There's another art line you could promote there, but you don't have
yeah,
tattoo art. Yeah, you could do pretty good at it.
yeah, it's I mean, I think I can take it pretty far if I dropped everything and just started doing artwork. I think I could probably get it very far. And I'm inspired by a lot of Instagram artists, and then your work because I see how you do your videos. So I'm like, man, I'm like, I got to get my stuff out there. Not that I have something new, but then I'm like, well, let me let me bring back some of the old ones that I used to put up there, and get those back up there, and sort of kind of motivate myself, because if I jump on Instagram and I see one of my posts, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to get back to the artwork. So I'm I'm planning on getting back to it, because I do
Yeah.
miss it a lot, and I have a lot of the art supplies. So I have a lot of specialty kind of pens and
Hmm.
special ink and rulers and erasers, all this stuff that I have, and it just sits there, and I'm like, man, I gotta use this stuff. But
Yeah.
the other thing that took up a lot of my time, I got interested in photography, so I was doing a lot of photography. So not only was I trying to be a musician, I'm also trying to be this concert photographer. And I haven't when COVID hit, after COVID, it was really hard for me to get back into the photography thing. And actually, I haven't done much photography since then. So it's since COVID, so that's been
Yeah.
like 5 years now, something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, you know, so that took away a lot of time, and but I think I'm ready now to sort of begin. But here's the other complication with this, to get back to artwork, is that
Yeah.
I actually have my own studio now, where I go and I create content specifically for because now I actually have a YouTube channel completely dedicated to just my music, and
Right.
that's where that exists. So now, not only do I have this YouTube channel that, I mean, I still post on it, and it's mostly
Mm.
about paranormal stuff, but not
Yeah.
as much as I used to. I brought you on to do interview about your paranormal experience, and
Yeah.
so I used to do a lot. I was really active on it. I was really trying to build it up, and but then that really didn't leave any room for me to showcase my music, because as you know, um the YouTube thing is like, it wants you to be really niche. It wants you to be like, videos are specific to this thing. So if you go from like
Yeah.
paranormal, and all of a sudden, oh, here are the guitar videos, you know the audience for the paranormal might not necessarily care to be listening to the guitar stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the music thing on this side, which I can actually monetize. So I'm actually a YouTube partner. I actually made YouTube partner on my
Oh,
Artemorbid
cool.
musician channel like a few months ago. I
Oh,
still haven't seen any money.
congratulations. Yeah, that's going to be my next question. How much do they pay you?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
I will
yeah. Well,
share that once it starts to happen. I'll share that with you. The interesting thing is that, like, you become a partner, and you have access to have people give you like a donation type thing if you're on a live stream.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
haven't quite hit that threshold where you're actually making ad revenue, meaning that you get paid
Yes.
for ads. So I'm very close. I think I'm about 400 views away from a 4,000
Yeah.
requirement, and I think I'm almost at the 1,000 subscriber mark for that to start
Mm.
happening. But
Yeah.
so, man, it's taken so long. It took almost two
Yeah. Yeah.
years just to get it there, and I had to
Yeah.
be really careful that, like, everything that I put out there is quite literally my own stuff, because
Yeah.
you're not allowed to use any. You see, that's the problem. That's the wall I hit with the spooky stuff.
Yeah.
When it came time to monetize, they're like,
Yeah.
nope, you can't, because you got reused content, meaning all that
Right.
TikTok stuff that I use,
Yeah.
or anything that I've ever reused, because it's that reused content stuff.
It's for reaction style videos that you've done. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so right there, it's like, nope, you can't be monetized. So I can go back and attempt to delete all that stuff, and then,
Mm.
kind of reapply. But I'm just like, well, I'm like, I'm just going to focus on the musician thing, because I can really, motivate. It's going to motivate me to create, you know, my own content, my own music, share my how-to stuff, and, you know, actually make something that's all my stuff, basically.
Yeah.
I'll still do the paranormal stuff here and there, but probably not as much as I used to.
Yeah. If you could go back to like the beginning, and given that, because you didn't know how technology was going to evolve and what things would become over time, um, where would you focus most of your work with setting stuff up? How would you set that up now? Because I know, like, you just get started and you put stuff out there, but then you build up a massive body of work, and then you realize that it's probably might not be working as well as it could if you'd set it up some other kind of way. What kind of tips would you give to artists wanting to move online? On how to set things up?
Well, I think for me, um, or for anybody starting out to hopefully see, and that's the tricky thing, right? I think for any of us is the fact that, like, we sort of have an idea in the beginning and we run with that idea, and as time goes by and life changes and things change, that idea might not, what you started with, you might lose interest in that at some point, so I would say,
Yeah,
if you man, that's tough, because you know I would want to tell somebody, I'm like, okay, make sure you have a very specific thing and a passion, but there's so many variables in that, because people's taste and passions change through time, and you don't know what you may
yeah,
encounter in life. They might be like, so, but if you can, right, if I could, um I would take, I guess I would take YouTube or making videos or content a little bit more serious, and just being really random, or and not be so passive with it, and just be like, I'm just gonna slap a few videos together and let's see what happens, and not, and just, if I would have taken it a lot more seriously, and I would have learned a little bit more, it
mm,
would have directed me in a better direction. I guess you would have saved I would have saved more time, because then I suppose I would have not gone too far into the paranormal at all. I would have just kind of been like, okay, I'm actually more of a musician and an artist than I am a paranormal investigator, quote
yeah,
unquote. So I suppose that I would have done it differently. I would have continued being an artist and musician and focusing on creating my own stuff, and not got segued so much into the paranormal. So I suppose I
yeah,
would have done it in reverse. I would have started my musician channel as my main channel, and really
yeah,
put all my knowledge, right? Because I know about producing and recording albums. I know about, writing music on guitar, how to read guitar tablature. So I know quite a bit about music. I would have done that first. And I think if I would have stuck with that, I would have got monetized many, many, many years ago.
Just a quick intermission to say that the Fork in the Road podcast has a Patreon as well, where you get a whole bunch of special things. You get an extended hour-long advert-free things, like you get to ask the podcast guests questions. You get a blog where I deep dive things which, might help make you successful and me successful, because I'm learning along the way too. You can also chat with me one-on-one and talk about your art business and make it work together. Back to the interview.
So I can go back to one of my earlier live streams, and I'm just very monotone and not really knowing what to say. And I go back, and then I
yeah,
fast forward to the future, and I look at a current live stream, and I can talk a lot better.
yeah,
I'm more confident, and so you're seeing those stages of your learning process in all different aspects, So I
yeah,
definitely think it's a good thing, to document your progress as you're going along.
yeah. And if you wanted to go back and do like a retrospective kind of video where you're talking about your spooky video days of the past and blah blah blah, and where you started, and you started a live stream, and you could put a snippet of the first bit of video of you talking, like, hello, I'm Frank, this is my first ever, spooky video, and you can create extra videos and put it in a
Yeah.
different context, in the current context of what you're doing.
Yep.
So it's so good to have all that as a background. I had my very first vlog I did, and I've had them on my channel, and I looked at it there for a while, and I thought, maybe I should get rid of that, but then I thought, I've just put it in a playlist right down the bottom, and people can always go back. It's always fun to just like go, Man, so you started there and you didn't even know what you wanted to do. Like I did my first video, I know I wanted to do something creative, didn't know what I wanted to do, and followed the whole journey. So, it gives you that, all that documenting gives you that option to, create new content. It kind of gets easier as you go along because you've done all that groundwork as well. And it, staying on YouTube, well, it might not necessarily be on YouTube, but the Amazon affiliate links, like how are you finding because you've got a shop there, you've been doing it for a while now. Do you think it's a viable thing for artists to have, not necessarily Amazon affiliates, if other companies that do affiliate deals as well, but have you found the whole process of that?
Oh, so yeah, so doing the Amazon affiliate, well, it's an up and down thing really, because it's really, so I'll have to use a lot of different, I don't know if I want to call them techniques, but
Yeah,
I will use my video editing style, or the things I've learned about video editing and demonstrating and creating lessons, now shifting it over into demonstrating a product. So it does it pay? Yes, it pays. Is it consistent? No, it's not consistent. There are sometimes when you're going to hit some good returns on things. And there's going to be times where you're seeing very little money in return. I've had some success on a couple of things, mainly like cameras and stuff like that, and also I'm trying to think what else has done really good for me. Christmas lights, surprisingly, like yeah, I know, it's so weird. Like that would be like the furthest thing from music to be like Christmas lights. Yeah, it's very seasonable and it's very like up and down. Because products also come and go. So if I review a camera that at one time was really popular, if it dies down in popularity, then the sales sort of go down. And Amazon is always changing and testing different things. And then the other part about it is that, like, if other people come into the influencer, that's what they call it, the influencer program, then you have high competition. You know what I mean? Like, let's say, like, I just happen to have a camera here that I bought as a test to see how well it would do, just as an unboxing and tryout. So let's say that I do a video on this camera and I have to make sure that it's low competition, meaning that like there's not too many videos on it. I'll be like, okay, I'll take a chance. I'll get a little bit of commission. So let's say the camera is $30, you know what I mean? Depending on the commission tables that they give you, and those are always changing too, which kind of sucks. Somebody buys one of these, through one of your videos, you'll get 30 cents. I know it might not sound like much, but if you get 30 people buying, you know what I mean, then you're going to get, I'm not saying you're going to be able to pay rent on it, but you'll be able to get some money back. But now here's the problem. So if I have a video now, 4 or 5 different people create a video, now I'm in competition down at the bottom where all the videos exist with 5 other people. You know what I mean? So, and then if you get 10 people, now you got 10 videos. What are your chances that they're going to buy from you? And now you got 10 other people. It's almost like luck of the draw, And that's always happening with all kinds of, unless you can find a product that no one has been able to find that has a high ranking that people are buying, then you'll have a good chance of, getting that to work. So one of the products was I had a card reader that I was using to read different SD cards for photography. And no one had a video on it, so I put a video on it, and that made me money for a while. I mean, nothing substantial, but it was nice. It was almost like I bought it for like, say, like $15, and through the longevity of the video, people were buying from it. I ended up making close to 1,000, and still making, because if people still buy it, even that many years down the road, I still get commission. So that was great. You know what I mean? But I had to wait so long for me to see, how good that did. So anything you buy,
Yeah.
so one of the things that I started doing now, which I found that like, hey, this is actually kind of cool. Watches. So, I started really getting into watches and
Yeah.
demonstrating watches, how to put batteries in watches and stuff. And that has a good return commission rate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll make videos on how to change batteries on this certain kind of watch, how to change the band, how to clean the top of the watch. So different
Yeah.
ideas on how to make money. So how I end up paying for my music studio is through my Amazon affiliate. Maybe I
Yeah.
don't hit that threshold every month, but it's enough to at least, get me through the month and be like, okay, I made this many videos and, I can get certain commission, but it is an up and down, so like right
Yeah.
now, like February, March are like the lowest returns right now,
Right.
things start picking up
Yeah.
around usually, October, November, December are like then things start
Yeah.
really taking off, and and I can repurpose stuff, so if I made like how-to video on a certain camera on YouTube, I can take that and then repurpose it and then make it into a shoppable video on Amazon,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah, and then it's that big question of, not only are you an artist creating, like either doing music tutorials or you're drawing or photography or whatever, is working out how you can work that in to your identity as to what you do online. So that's not too jarring for people watching your content, and now they got inflatable pools or something
right?
just appearing, go, I thought this was a spooky channel and I'm looking at pools now. Yeah, it's
So some of the like for like some of the incentives, like there have been a couple of companies that reached out, that I've had to put on YouTube because that was one of the requirements. So then I would be like, well, I have to put it on my spooky channel, even if it doesn't make sense, I guess, But there were like a couple that were like night vision solar power cameras. Company
yeah,
reached out. They're like, hey, we want you. We're gonna send you this camera. You can keep it, but the incentive is, you gotta put the video up on YouTube. So I would just
yeah,
put it on my YouTube end and put my affiliate link there and whatnot. But you know sometimes you do got to do
it,
that, but I can do it on my spooky channel because I'm not monetized on it, so it really doesn't matter.
yeah,
Now my musician channel, I will probably treat it differently, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to do because I bought pedals and stuff, and I demonstrated guitar pedals and recording
hmm
devices, so if it's all that one thing, if I can get some kind of sponsorship through different companies for their pedals or recording devices, and I can go ahead and put them on my music channel, and it will make sense because I'm already doing that there,
yeah, yeah,
So, I guess I have a way of, having a second channel. It might be daunting for a lot of people, but
yeah,
to me, it makes it easier to be able to put content here that makes sense and still, because I'm still interested in paranormal stuff. So, and I don't
mm,
want to take it away and not do anything with it,
mm, mm,
and you can always funnel people, you can always, there's a couple of like paranormal channels. I think they're called Goosebumps. They're in the UK,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
remember going onto their videos and they're like, hey, the guy who owns the channel, he commented and he's like, I know about you, and I'm like, how do you know about me? He's like, I know you're in a band called Blood of the Wolf. I'm like, what? I'm like, how do you
yeah,
know that? He's like, oh, I seen your videos and blah blah blah.
yeah,
So here's a spooky channel, and all of a sudden
yeah,
he knows about my band. So I'm like, hey,
yeah,
I'm like, here's here's a link to our Bandcamp or our Spotify. You can check that out. So it does
yeah,
cross over sometimes. So I can definitely still use my channel because there's a lot of people on there still. I think I
yeah,
got like 67K subscribers, So
Yeah.
it's a good opportunity for me to like, get people there and be like, I have a musician channel too. If you want to go check that out,
Yeah.
here it is.
Yeah. It's probably a good point where your main Artemorbid channel can be more like a bit of a hub. I was just wondering, so with the fact that you look at a lot of paranormal videos, the spooky stuff, and the fact that there is the potential for so many fakes these days, and things can be created so easy, videos and music and audio. How do you have ways of picking that up or being able to figure out what's true and what's not?
Um, well, the like AI stuff, or if you're talking straight paranormal stuff,
Yeah.
um, no, it's gotten very difficult as a matter of fact, So
Mm.
a lot of the times, what I like to when I'm investigating, or if I'm going to share something, I try to make sure there's a little bit more to the story, rather than just
Yeah.
like this unknown video without any backstory. So I think things with a backstory work really well, and things that
Mm.
are, if the evidence is more like, say, it was filmed on a camcorder or something not digital, gives it more validity. But it's definitely really tough to discern now on, like, especially like paranormal videos or UFO or Bigfoot stuff like that. It's gotten
Yeah.
really, really difficult. You know what I mean? Because you know, people are pumping all kinds of stuff out there, trying to, be sensational just to get the views, and so
Mm.
they're pumping out all kinds of made up stuff. So it makes it really, really difficult. So I suppose I go for like the stories that have more credibility. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was recently watching a documentary, and they were interviewing hospice nurses and the things that they've seen and stuff like that. So that
Mm-hmm.
intrigues me because, you know, it's not made up, and they're actually interviewing, and they're talking about some really weird things that go down in a hospice, as opposed to like,
Mm.
a jump scare YouTube video. You know what I mean? Like, okay,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and that does. So to me, it's better to have some kind of a backstory. I guess that's the way I would approach it. And anything else
Yeah.
that you will look at, it's tough to say. I would still
Yeah.
share it. Maybe. You
Yeah.
know, and be like, okay, here's something that's fake, or here's something that's sensationalized. Here's what to
Mm.
look out for. So you could still kind of, you know, um, sort of teach people, be like, hey, here's this video, but it's clearly fake, and this is why it's fake. So you can make that
Yeah.
argument. And
Yeah.
then, with the stuff that has more validity, I would want more of a backstory. Like when
Yeah.
you share your story, there was a lot to it. There was
Yeah.
so many layers, and that makes it more valid as something that has happened to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really interesting, and it's funny. It's funny how all things kind of connect. Is because I see the connection there as soon as you started speaking about it. How you look for the backstory, you look at the story behind it, you look at the validity of it, and I think that's why artists these days have to document their journey going forward into the future, because you just can't create art anymore. I feel personally, I feel you need to like share your story and share the creation of your artwork, whatever form it will be, before you actually share the final artwork, because that way people know it's genuine, it's come from the heart, it's come from a person, and and I think that's an interesting parallel drawn with the paranormal kind of AI videos. The same applies for the art world as well, and
Yep.
music and everything is just like, look for the story. And I think that's what people do. I think people do tend to look for the story, and people connect with the stories.
All right, man.
Cool. Thanks very much for joining me, Frank.
All right, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great day.
Thank you so much for listening to the Fork in the Road podcast, or watching the Fork in the Road podcast. For those people watching on Patreon, we also have it as a video on Spotify and YouTube. If you like the idea of chatting with artists, talking about how you go from starving to thriving, how you become a successful artist, whatever that means to you, whatever a thriving artist means. If you like this kind of thing, you can support the podcast in many ways. Apart from becoming a Patreon, you can just share it with your friends, or you could leave a review on iTunes. I think iTunes do review. Whoever does reviews, if you look in your podcast channel, if it allows you to do a review, or if you're watching on YouTube, please comment, please like, and I won't be one of those podcasts that go, you got to give a 5-star review. If there's something about the podcast you don't like, let me know. Write it in the comments and see if I can, tweak it a little bit to make it work better for everybody. But yeah, 5-star review would be pretty awesome. But anyway, check you next time.